Welcome to the Live Explore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe. Hi, I'm Sean Payne, founder of Live Explore Real Estate and Lifestyle, and welcome to our very first podcast. I have Isaiah Chass here, our founding agent. Isaiah, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Excited we can finally be here and make this happen.
Yeah. So I've had this crazy idea of starting my own brokerage for a couple years now and decided to execute it back in February. Maybe a little bit before that, but signed a lease for this really cool office space at number 10 4th Street, right downtown Petaluma. We're right across the street from Avid Coffee and right next door to the Petaluma Historic Museum. It used to be the old workplace prior to the COVID pandemic. And so we got this great spot, including this really cool podcast room that was quite an experience in putting this all together out of remodeling this entire office. This certainly was the most trial and error. And I commend anyone that has a podcast because I don't see how you guys do it, or it's much more complicated than what it seems. Isaiah, would you agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I seriously don't know how people put podcasts together. Not to sound stupid, but I think we're pretty smart people, and
Right.
it certainly knocked us off our feet more times than it didn't. But we're finally here making it work, and it seems to come out pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like finally it's going to pay off. And thank you very much for all your effort down here, late at nights, early mornings, trying to get everything set up that way.
Absolutely.
It's greatly appreciated. So we have this cool space. And so what we're going to do is we're starting this podcast episode. Bear with us. We'll get better as time goes on. But we want to provide information to you about what's going on in the market and just what's going on in general. Live Explore is about not only finding you the home that you'll love, but also the lifestyle it creates that way. And so much in real estate's been about that in recent years, and we really wanted to kind of bake that into the brand, where we're going to be here to, again, not only find you your perfect home. That's kind of what we do in real estate, but we really want to show you how you can enjoy the community to the fullest and enjoy the activities, whatever lifestyle you want. Make sure that you actually live that lifestyle that way. So
Absolutely, and I think that goes to show, how much Sonoma County and the surrounding areas, Marin County, Napa County, Mendocino County, have to offer. We have everything from the coast to mountain biking. You can go surfing, hiking, wine tasting. We have some of the best restaurants in California, if not the country, here in this localized area. And I think that that has shown recently during the pandemic, when people have been migrating out of those metropolitan areas. They haven't had to stay in those places that they had to be before to work. Now they can be in places that are more highly desired, and they can be outdoors and enjoy all those activities.
Right. And so our moniker here at Live Explore is Live Better, Explore More. So again, this won't only be about real estate information, although we certainly will be providing that for you. It'll also be about like just local activities and what's going on and things of that nature, as well as we want to hear from you about like what is interests you. I have this funny panel right here. This is a Tesla solar roof panel. So that'll be one of our upcoming podcasts. We'll also be dealing with talking about short-term rentals and where that industry is right now, and fractional ownership. I'm sure you guys have seen or heard maybe now about Picasso, and I think that's going to be a model in real estate that is going to become more and more. You're going to see more and more of it that way. So I want to go over that and just get people's feelings on that. So.
Yeah, one thing we can assure you that we won't be talking about, we're not going to be pitching properties for sale. It's nothing like that. It's other things that we find people will be really interested in.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want this to be just a boring podcast where we have our listings up that way. Not to say we won't be talking about a listing from time to time, but it won't be like to sell it to you that way. It'll be like something that's kind of informative or it's going on the market at that point. So anyway, again, in the future podcasts, we'll really dive into what's going on in the market. But everyone wants to know right now what is going on in the market. With interest rates going up, everyone's kind of wondering what's going to happen to home prices. And I think that a lot of people who, if you experience the foreclosure crisis, the downturn from 2008, that there's a lot of anticipation that the market's going to really crash 40 or 50%, something of that nature. Isaiah, what are you hearing people out there talk about? So.
Yeah, what I think is interesting, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this as well, is the last crash, people weren't expecting it as much. It was something that the floor kind of fell out, right? In this situation, I think people are more expecting it to happen. They have been waiting for a slowdown. They've been waiting for prices to soften. So I've seen that it's more anticipated. People are more expecting it, and with that, a little bit more ready for that to happen. With those prices softening.
I mean, I think like last time I went through it, and like I remember the consensus kind of like before the market really started crashing was like we were going to experience like a 5 to 10% drop in value, and it was substantially more than that, 40 or 50%. No one saw it coming because I think that since the Great Depression, we hadn't had like a housing crash like that. Now, what fueled that was like really bad mortgages. I mean, we didn't have mortgages weren't underwritten very well. Now, that's not the case. The federal regulations, the Fed stepped in years ago and really kind of closed that hole up now. People that have been borrowing or getting mortgages, they're qualified that way. Maybe it's even a little bit over-regulated. But again, so we're not going to have that catastrophic effect of just bad mortgages and then all these foreclosures coming on the market that way. But we do have interest rates coming up, and it appears that that is taking some of the steam out of the market, and I think we've seen that all the way across the board. I think we're definitely seeing it on the lower end of the market, and as scary as this sounds, our lower end now is like 6, 7, 800,000, below $1 million. I'd say that like those buyers are definitely more sensitive to the interest rates that way. It seemed like multi-million-dollar properties were just humming along maybe like 60 days ago, but they're still selling, but it seems like some of the steam is out of that market that way as well. So,
right, yeah, I think it's interesting to see how different segments are getting hit differently. Like you said, the first-time home buyer market is more driven by those interest rates, but then you have that kind of that window between $900,000 to sub $2 million where that buyer is still going to use a jumbo loan product. But then above that, those types of buyers aren't as driven by interest rates because they're not going to need those types of financing. They're pulling their money out of other places, whether it's stock market or previous investments.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So Isaiah brought up the jumbo loan market, and it's a little bit of a mess right now. And once that gets cleared up, I think what you'll see is that higher end of the market, or the million up to 2 million, 2.5 million, you'll see that market I think will pick up a little bit. And then, like you said, above that like $2.5 million mark, I mean, really you're dealing usually more with like cash buyers or the private banking at that point. But what's going on in the jumbo mortgage market, and what we'll have in the very future, we'll have a great lender that I like to come in and talk about this much better than I can. But not all banks are the same right now. In good times, when you're using conventional mortgages, money's basically coming from the same spot. Now that things are getting a little wonky in the market, you have like the larger banks have better jumbo loan products than some of the smaller banks. And we've seen an interest rate, a point difference between these two banks. Right now, I'd say some of the smaller banks are, the jumbo rates I've seen like 6.25, 6.5, something like that, where I've seen some of the larger banks offering, 5.5, something of that nature. Now, that doesn't mean that the issue often, like if you go to a Wells Fargo or something like that, sorry if you're a lender representing them, but generally the service isn't as good. They take longer to compete that way. But there are mortgage banks that have access to these banks and these bigger these products, and that's who I'd really recommend using right now. So with the market changing, it's really important to vet your lenders because not all money is the same right now. You'll see differences in rates and products that way. as those jumbo products become more available, I think you'll see that market kind of pick back up again that way. So what are your thoughts on that?
Right, and I think talking about what's moving towards the norm, do you think there's going to be a more of a norm to buy down a rate? 6 months ago, you didn't have that option to ask for a seller credit. There were so many offers on the table, and especially difficulty with the appraisals. You couldn't go in asking for $10,000 or $15,000 as a seller credit. A, from a competition standpoint, and B, when you're already offering 15% over asking, having an appraisal come in with a seller credit is real difficult. But now seeing that you could buy the rate down maybe half
and it makes sense, or the cost of the loan that way. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, you're going to see that, and sellers. That's what you really have to take into account now, is that you're going to have to be part of the transaction process. You're not going to be able to sit back and be arms crossed anymore and be like, no, I'm not going to work with a buyer. Just close the deal. Like now you're going to, if you want to get your home sold in a timely manner, you're going to have to work with buyers. So like, yeah, coming in maybe like $10,000. Let's say you want $1 million for your home. Maybe you have to agree to like $1,010,000 and then work that cost into they have that $10,000 credit to buy down a point, to buy down the cost of that loan that way. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing is that sellers are going to have to start working. Everyone's going to have to start getting creative in this market to try to figure that out that way. And talking about the market, I mean, I think the reason why our market will continue to kind of tick along and we don't have anything catastrophic happening is we haven't built enough homes in the last 10 years. And so that's going to kind of insulate us that way. And so I think that we're a little bit protected that way. I think the cookie cutter homes will always be the first homes that get hit in this type of market. The unique homes, the homes that really show well, will still be okay. Like, so you're not going to get the 10 offers. You're going to get like 1, maybe 2 offers right now. But I think kind of going on that point, it's even more important now to make sure that your home's really polished and shine that way. If you have some, I'm getting a home on the market right now, and I'm talking to the owners, and it's even more important as the market's kind of like getting a little wonky, that we make sure that the home's in good condition. So I have a property with $10,000 worth of pest work, not a big deal, but I think that talking to the owner, that's something we have to take care of. So the home is really just move-in ready that way. And I think that is even more important now in this market, because I think that especially under $1 million, $1.5 million, is that people don't want to come in and start doing improvements or taking money, out of their additional money out of their savings to improve homes. Isaiah, what do you think?
Right. Yeah, and taking a step back to building, it's interesting being that in the last crisis there was a surplus of homes. Mm-hmm. There's so much building happening, trying to catch up. Now we're still we still need homes. There's still demand.
There's
for
still
that,
demand,
and there's not enough. I was reading that there's from a building perspective, they've anticipated a slowdown. So there's builders that were taking out notes that they don't have to repay for 30 years. The top 7 builders right now have $12 million cash, $25 million debt. However, only half of that debt is due within the next 5 to 6 years.
Is that locally? Just
top 7 builders nationally.
Tops have how much debt? That doesn't seem like a whole lot of debt.
$25 billion.
Oh, $25 billion.
Sorry, did I say million?
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that totally makes sense.
So they're more insulated from that to be able to recover from this, be able to get on to the next cycle and continue building. Yeah,
well, I think that's what happened in the last time, is that so many mid-level or smaller builders got whacked in the last market, and so a lot of them didn't come back. And so if you look now, we have more of the big national builders here, and we don't have the smaller mom and pops or the mid-level builders. So that totally makes sense that way. That totally makes sense. And yeah, that's why we have reduced inventory. So again, like, because of that, you're not going to get like the 10 offers, but you still have buyers out there that still need to move and things of that nature. So things are still moving along that way. So
yeah, and on that note, what do you see as the new normal? I know we've in the past talked about more contingent offers, buyers coming in needing to sell their home before. Maybe that's something that sellers are going to have to start getting used to, is having to, you were just saying, having to work with buyers on different aspects. Maybe that's going to be one of the new things that they have to think about working with?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You have a lot of people that have wanted to buy a new home, but there hasn't been a lot of inventory, and so they didn't want to sell their home. This happens in any type of restricted market. They don't want to sell their home or put their home on the market until they find a suitable home, and so they put in offers contingent upon the sale of their home. They get beat out. I think we've seen this. A lot of offers have been coming in of those buyers, I think, that have been getting beat out in recent months, and now here's their opportunity. So as a seller, again, like, you're going to have to be more open to these type of processes and sales and things like that, working to buy down the rate or do a contingent offer that way. And again, because we don't have homes to sell, as long as the home's properly priced and marketed, I don't see anything wrong with a contingent sale that way. Things are going to still sell. And getting back to the market, I think we've been spending a lot of time reviewing data. I do think at some point there's going to be an adjustment in the market. As of right now, I don't know if it's already happening. I mean, we see a lot of price reduction. Everyone's like, oh, we're seeing price reductions. I kind of feel that, like, as agents, we've been spoiled the last few years, because you can almost price anything. You could price a property at, if you're 10% over value in a few months, you're going to be within a range and it's going to sell. And so I kind of feel like the price reductions that we're seeing right now may not be like a reduction in the market, but just overpriced homes to begin with. And now everyone's like, now my pricing has to be a little bit more accurate. I can't price it 3 or 5% over the neighbor's home that just sold next door. Like, maybe I should price it at where that home sold that way. So we're seeing like a lot of that. However, at some point it appears there's going to be an adjustment. Like we said, it's not going to be catastrophic. But it looks like, maybe potentially in 2023, we are going to see a reduction in price of 8 to 10%, something like that. Again, like from the data we've seen, no one's crystal ball is clear, but it looks like as the recession goes on, that there's going to be an adjustment that way. Nothing catastrophic, and it has to happen. I mean, markets are cyclical. We've had now 10 plus years of a great market going up, so it had to happen at some point. So
right, and I think at the end of the day, real estate can be very local, if not hyper local. Being that we're in a very desirable area, I could totally see other areas getting hit harder than in this area in particular. But being that, I just lost my train of thought.
No worries. No, I completely agree with what you're saying. Here's the thing, why we're safe. We live in a great area, great schools, great quality of life. And you have this like economic center in San Francisco and Silicon Valley that constantly, when people get priced out of there, or they look up here and they're like, hey, they have a great quality of life up there and it's less expensive, that is still going to be there. Again, we haven't built enough homes to satisfy all that need, plus of the people around here that need homes that way. So you're going to be safe that way. Of what's going on in the market. So again, thank you for listening, and we will get better as this goes along, but you know what? It's been pretty good. This was fun. And let us know, shoot us a message, put us down in the comments, let us know any kind of topics that you'd like to think about, like us to talk about, but we do have some coming up. We'll go more into the market next time, and maybe we can get a mortgage broker on here and talk about, more about interest rates and what they see going on down the line, and kind of go from there. But Isaiah, thank you very much for making this happen, all your efforts, and I look forward to doing this podcast with you. So.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, and we're excited to bring everyone more topics and talk about more things that people are interested in.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining the Live Explore podcast, and more to come soon. Welcome to the Live Explore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.